will tell you about my favorite painting in the collection, Thieves' Market in Vilnius by Stanisław Appenzeller. When I stand in front of this painting, it pulls me in with its narrative, with its story. It is quite mysterious. We don't know, is it really an unofficial market where stolen goods were sold? Is this a scene that the painter encountered while visiting the city? I became so interested, I started researching biography of this artist with a foreign-sounding last name, Appenzeller, with 2 P's and 2 L's. He turned out to be a spy with quite interesting multinational heritage. He was Swiss, Jewish, and Polish. I couldn't find too much about his biography at first when I started searching years ago. It was probably his secret agent identity that contributed to that there are quite few gaps in his biography. The painting is quite rare too, because only very few paintings by Appenzeller survived the turmoil and destruction of war. He himself survived the war, but his post-war creations are completely different in style than his early works. Now, when we look at the painting, we see a quiet bustle of locals that gathered at this market, at this square or an alley lined with a row of very colorful tenement homes with a beautiful light shining on them, with slanted metal roofs. They are contrasted with official, very sturdy, but very unappealing visually architecture. We see people gathered in smaller groups. They look at something closer. They discuss something. They gossip. They sit by themselves and clean or repair some goods that they are offering for sale. It is quiet but very interesting story. Now, we don't know if Appenzeller saw this scene and if it was, in fact, this thieves' market, or he gave it cleverly this title to make it more interesting, to make it more mysterious and give it this aura of secrecy. He was a master of this, and historians and art historians say that he loved to embellish his biography a bit. Now, going back to Vilnius, this is a capital of Lithuania, but in an interwar period era Poland, this was an important cultural and industrial hub and the fifth largest city in Poland. Ethnically very diverse, with Poles at 66%, with Jews at nearly 30%, with Russians and Lithuanians living alongside each other. World War II, of course, changed that landscape again, and Poland fell under the spell of communism for many years. We know that Appenzeller painted at least 2 other cityscapes of Vilnius in the 1930s. Vilnius, or Polish Wilno, also appears in artists' family saga of Appenzellers. It starts with a Swiss soldier, volunteer, who fought alongside Poles with Napoleon, marched on Russia in 1812. He was injured in the Battle of Berezina, and then was nursed to health in a Vilnius hospital by a beautiful Polish nurse. A Polish girl and Swiss soldier fell in love, and they settled in Poland in Polesie. Stanisław's father, Zygmunt Appenzeller, was born in the town of Stanisławów, now in Ukraine. He was a biologist and chemist. He co-founded and ran a popular sanatorium in Mentone in France. This is where rich elites went to repair their health, to improve their chronic illness. This is where Stanisław is born in 1901 in Mentone, in this influential, rich family. Stanisław's mother, Agnes Wolf, also known as Ines, was from the German, Polish, Jewish family from Gniezno that settled in Argentina. That's where the mother was born. Stanisław was sent to schools in Switzerland at an early age of 12. It was a family tradition. Then brought up by his father in the spirit of Polish patriotism, he chose military schools. He received pilot training, and in 1920 he fought in the Bolshevik War. He was injured, and this is how his short military career ended. After that, he had a short episode aiming to please his father. He tried his hand at business and entrepreneurship. He started a cigarette factory, Sen, Dream, in Bydgoszcz, Poland, and they produced cigarettes for women. First cigarettes in Poland that were scented with essential oils. He learned this technique in Switzerland. The factory didn't do too well, he closed it down, and finally he devoted his attention to painting. He enrolled in the Academy of Art in Kraków, where he studied under Professor Władysław Jarocki. Jarocki's painting, Harvest of the Cabbages, is on view in the Great Hall of the museum. In the 1930s, Appenzeller frequented Kazimierz on the Vistula River a lot. It was a picturesque town that was very popular with artists, and this is where he met Maria Kuncevičová, a Polish writer. They forged a long-life friendship, and Kuncevičová even portrayed him as a painter in one of her novels. We have a document in the archives. It's a letter by museum curator Mieczysław Hyman to the Polish consulate in Chicago. In this letter, the painting by Appenzeller, the town in Kazimierz is mentioned, and we don't know, fragment of the town square Kazimierz. We don't know if it's a mistake or the painting had two different titles. This is something that we have to research, and this is another mystery that is still waiting to be uncovered. In 1936, Appenzeller also was a part of the story of another Polish museum abroad. He curated a large exhibition of the Society of Polish Artists blog in Rapperswil in Switzerland. Society of Polish Artists blog comprised of smaller art groups that stemmed from Warsaw Academy of Art under Professor Tadeusz Pruszkowski. Pruszkowski's painting Ruda, Red-Haired Girl, is also on display in the corridor in the hallway of the museum, just steps from the Thieves' Market in Vilnius. In 1939, Appenzeller returned to the French Riviera. During the war, he was also stationed in Bern, Switzerland as cultural attaché. These are the years when he was active as a secret agent. He also cooperated with the French resistance. In the post-war years, in 1955, he settled in Seyon in France, in Provence, where he lived until the end of his life in 1980. Coincidentally, right next to the painting Thieves' Market in Vilnius hangs a painting by Stanisław Grabowski, View of Provence, also from the Polish Pavilion at the New York World's Fair. In the little town of Seyon, Max Ernst, a popular, famous painter, famous surrealist painter, also settled with his wife Dorothea Tanning. And their paintings, along with over 800 paintings by Appenzeller, are available for view there in Seyon. Please follow us on social media, become a member, support the museum in this difficult time for nonprofits, and visit us in person as soon as possible and see this beautiful collection of 1930s Polish art for yourself up close.